It is Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. How am I going to do this? The battery's dying here. I just want to, here, I'll make my bed. I just did the nightly gratitude thing with my niece and nephew, where they say what they're grateful for, and my sister does it with them, so I sat with them for that. It was very nice. And I'm just upset because last night, I did this around 9 with them, and then but then I did my story. I didn't end up going to bed till like I guess 10:45, but then podcast was till 11. So I woke up. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. So I'm not even gonna bother uploading this tonight. I'm just gonna. And I wasn't even gonna record it. But I'm like, I'll just capture the day. So what happened? Yeah, heard them banging around at 7. Decided, all right, I can't get any more sleep. Oh, I keep forgetting to get sheets, man. Every day I'm like, I gotta bring sheets down. I'll sleep on this again. And then I'm like, oh, I better record the podcast for this pitch because this agency came up with an idea for a podcast for the client. And I said, and they wanted me to just be around to help with the script that was already written in case they need it. I said, I can record it too. I'm a podcaster, voice actor. It's like, oh, great. So I recorded it, but then I sent it to them and they were like, Dad, no, wait until we have an approved script. I'm like, ugh. But anyway, so I did it. But then they were already gone at like 9:30. I thought I was gonna go to the hotel pool with them, and then I messaged my mom, and she's like, "It's fine. Like, we're not gonna be here long because Uncle David's going for lunch with his friends." So they came back. I don't know. I guess around 10:30 or something. And because Ayla apparently had a nosebleed, and apparently that happens a lot to her because her nose is still growing. My sister says. I don't know what that means. But hopefully she's okay. And then what happened? I guess I just kept working. I think I did a bunch of voice auditions. Or no, I guess I was working on going through my emails. I don't know. Then my dad texted that they were going to Wendy's at 11:30. I was like, all right. And he wound up not coming because we don't really have room in the car, and he wanted to work on something else. And so we went, and I asked my sister, I was like, well, why don't we just, Daddy's not coming, why don't we just walk to Harvey's? Because my dad can't really walk. And she's like, oh, no, we do Wendy's Wednesdays. That's an idea she came up with during the pandemic for something to celebrate the Wednesday to help them get through the week. So I was like, all right, went to that. It was nice. And I was going to get a salad, but then I was like, oh, you can get a salad and a baked potato. But then I saw if you have a combo, you can upgrade to a baked potato. I'm like, all right, let me get a sandwich. So I got a chicken sandwich, but it turns out the upgrade replaces the fries. I was like, oh, there's no fries. I thought I was getting fries and a sandwich and a baked potato, but I did not need the fries, so that's good. So I'm glad I ate healthy-ish. And then, yeah, we sat under a tree for a bit outside, so it was nice. I considered taking the paper bag that their little Happy Meal type of thing came in, but then I thought, I don't know, I mean, I could collect all this junk, and is it going to be worth anything one day? Probably not. Then we came back, and then I think I did like 25 voice auditions, and then my dad texted that they had made reservations for Yangtze Chinese food at 5:30. So I did the tech test for the speed dating, and then, yeah, I said, okay, I'll come to the Chinese food, but I got to come home in time. And it was a good dinner. My niece ate some mushrooms. My sister was like, I don't eat mushrooms. And so I think her son has taken that on because he's like, mushrooms, I can't eat them. Oh, he's a very picky eater anyways. He basically just eats chicken fingers. But I said, listen, he borrowed my hoodie because he was cold. And I said, okay, on the condition that you eat like some greens and some mushrooms. And I think he had a bit of green, but then I cut up the mushroom for him, and he's like, oh, no. And I was like, come on, put it in your mouth. I'm doing it too. But then my sister said, we can do something like a vegetable adventure. Like, we'll go get some different vegetables and try them. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. So that made me happy. And, my sister before that in the kitchen, my sister got news that Ayla might be in a commercial for hockey. Like, they've got a friend who's in the commercial and needs a team. So that's exciting. And then, they all went to a park after dinner, and I was home, and I hosted the speed dating, and that was fun. And I get paid for that. And then Elin came into my room when it was still the end of the speed dating, basically. And that was it. Talked to this nice guy, John, at the end of the event, who's not on social media, but he's on YouTube, and he'll follow me. And that reminds me, I called Square, this payment system, because I'm using their appointment booking. and I couldn't see my Square appointments in my Gmail. And the woman said, well, that's not really our thing, that's Gmail. But she helped me figure it out. She said, oh, press these three dots and then select that. So now I can see my appointments in my right beside my email. And then she's like, is that all? I'm like, no, you can follow me on Instagram. She's like, oh, what are you, like, for my adventures? She's like, what are your adventures? And we talked. I guess I talked about, like, my podcast and what I want it to be about. And I don't know. I can't remember now what we talked about. We talked for a while, and so it was kind of sweet. So hopefully she's following me. And then what, I think, was her name Fanny or something? So I wrote a review of her when I got the email saying, like, do you have anything to say? You always get the emails afterwards, like, listen, sometimes I just want to call and get some support. I don't want to write an essay about it, but she was very sweet. So then that was it. I finished that, and then Ayla came down and said, can you want to come up for the gratitude ceremony? I was like, okay. So I went up and I cleaned up their room because my sister was still doing some work or something. And then that was it. We sat down and I talked about what I'm grateful for. Basically gave my summary of the day like this. And Ayla was saying she's grateful for getting the commercial, but she's like, do you think my sister's like, well, you might not. Like, oh, do you think they'll like me? My sister's like, oh, you don't, it can't be about liking you. You have to like yourself and you just enjoy the auditions and stuff. So we're trying to explain how auditions work. 'Cause she still has to be approved by the client. And that's basically it, I think. So yeah, I'll try to get up early tomorrow. My uncle's leaving tomorrow, but I will get up. And he was like, will you be up in time for breakfast? Like, I could see him. I'm like, yeah, no, I wake up with the banging in the morning. But it's good. Like, when the kids aren't here, I miss it. It's like just this quiet, empty house. But starting Sunday, hopefully my website will work and I'll make $1 billion and I can buy my own house. But one thing that made me sad, Ayla was talking about auditions or something, and my sister mentioned Broadway somehow, and Ayla's like, do you want to be on Broadway? She's like, I used to want to be, not anymore. I don't want to perform. And and then we got a big discussion about YouTube. I said, you can make your own content, and I looked up the 10 kid YouTubers, and so hopefully I can get my niece on YouTube. But and then I mentioned, I had a job offer just writing the ads for Broadway shows 10 years ago. My sister's like, oh my God, that hurts my heart because, it would have been so cool. And now I'm like, it would have been. I kept thinking, it's not movie actors, but I mean, movie actors are in Broadway shows. And imagine if I had met all the Broadway performers and I was casting them in the ads, and that would have been they were going to pay for my visa in New York. So I would have been able to live and work in New York. And instead, I just said, I'll just stay in Toronto at my same job. And I had just bought this condo, and I thought, well, this will be fun. I want to try my fancy condo. I'll never get to live in it. But I could have just gone for a year and said, I'll go to New York for a year, and then I can come back and live in the condo or not. Like, it would have been such a different thing. Why, instead of trying this amazing new thing, I guess because it was the first job I applied for, and I hadn't applied for anything else, so I'm like, why would I want that? But why not try something new? Why not try it for 6 months and say, here, try New York, try the job, like, just do it, rent out your condo or sell the condo, whatever you have to do. Why didn't I? Because I knew what Toronto was like. What else was I hoping for? In my head, I was like, no, I want to go to New York on my own terms, like when I'm an actor. But how was that going to happen? Now I'm really, really upset. But I guess, I was still with Jen when I turned 40, and I'm almost 49, so it's just 9 years, I guess, that I've wasted. But you realize that could be a quarter of your life. Like, that's a long time, 9 years. But, I know, maybe the pandemic would have happened, so then Broadway wasn't really doing much the past year and a half or something. So maybe it's only 7 years I wasted. I don't know. But that was it. That would have been, at 40 I was still young enough to date and do stuff, and that would have been my trip to New York, like just an adventure. Because I didn't have a girlfriend. I'd just broken up with everyone, like that. Anyways, wow. And that's the one thing. Like, I just regret not trying things because you can't get that time back. All right. Well, have a good night. The battery's dying here.